Hi, how are you? Hope you're well. So today I am starting a very excited, long-awaited reading vlog, and that would be starting Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This beauty right here. I've been very excited to start this book after having read The House of the Cerulean Sea. I made a reading vlog on that one. The reading vlog, if you're interested, is Snapchat AI chooses my next read. And I had gotten that book because Amazon was having a sale, buy two get one free, so I used that as my free book because everyone always talked about it. I was never really interested, but everyone said it was a good book. So I decided, screw it, let's just try it, let's see, it's a free book, you know? Ended up loving it. It was 5 stars, one of my favorite books, burrowed itself into my heart, was completely unexpected too. So after that, I went and I got Under the Whispering Door, and I was going to read it immediately, but then I ended up reading other things, and then winter came, and TJ Klune's books just feel very springish to me. So like end of summer, where it's not autumn yet, but the weather's starting to cool down just a little bit, or spring where it's like starting to warm up, everything's blooming. I mean, look at it. This is a spring book, let's be real. So I've been very excited to start it. I waited for now to read it. I think this is probably going to come out midsummer, but I am reading this in spring, and I'm just so excited and happy. I'm really hoping that this book will be as great as Under the Whispering Door. No, Under House of the Why is this so difficult for me to say? I really hope Under the Whispering Door is as good as The House of the Cerulean Sea, or whatever its title is, because my brain is still asleep. I'm very excited to start. I'm a bit nervous because obviously The House in the Cerulean Sea was so good. I want this to be as good, and if it's not, I'm going to be very disappointed. So I'm really hoping that it is good, but we'll see. So wish me luck. This is going to be spoiler free, just by the way, for the most part. I'm not planning on talking about anything big, so yeah. Back. So I'm actually about 41% through Under the Whispering Door right now, and so far it's been pretty good. I've been enjoying it. However, I do feel that this book is a bit hard to read. So if you don't know what this book is about, the main character of the book dies in the first chapter of a heart attack, and basically this book is about him learning to cope with the fact that he died, and he's at like this tea shop where there is a ferryman that's gonna take him to the other side. We don't know what the other side is. I don't think we're gonna find out in this book or any of the books. I think that's kind of like up for interpretation, which I quite like. Basically, this is about his journey accepting that he died and dealing with the fact that his life ended up not being fulfilling, and he only realized when it was too late. And it's a beautiful book, very well written, very sweet, heartwarming. The characters are lovely, you know, it's TJ Klune, of course they are. However, the problem with that is it's hard to read, to be honest with you, because again, the entire book is surrounding death and what happens after death and how fulfilled is your life, like will you be happy if you die, stuff like that. So it's very hard not to get sentimental when reading it, and it's very hard not to start like reflecting on your own life and wondering like, if I were to just keel over and die tomorrow, would I be happy with the life that I lived? And it like makes you think about all of the people you love that have passed away and wonder like, what about all the people I might leave behind one day when I die? And it's just like, it's heavy. It makes me very emotional. It's kind of like put me in a little bit of a somber space. I'm like mentally fine, but whenever I read the book, like I do want to cry a little bit, and I have just been feeling very like sensitive, emotional, and reflective, I guess. So that is one thing about this book that I don't want to say I dislike like, but it has made the reading journey just a bit more difficult. Not necessarily in a bad way, just something that happens. So I wanted to bring that up because I'm almost halfway and it's probably only going to get worse until like the end of the book. But it's not in a bad way. I think that's just something you need to be prepared for going into it. I kind of was, because again, it's like dealing with dead people the entire book. Not a bad thing, but just like if you're going into this, beware of that, I guess, so that you are like in the right mental space. Like if you're going through a depressive episode, absolutely don't read this book. Like read this when you're in a good space and you can deal with reading about the topic. But the actual book itself isn't depressive by any means. It's not negative. It doesn't like weigh heavily on you or like in a bad way. It's just like it makes you think, which is never a bad thing, you know? Like books that make you reflective are usually a very good thing. But just be aware of that if you go into this. It can get heavy. It's probably going to make you think quite a bit. And just like be mentally prepped if you do choose to read this book. I'm at the 41% mark and I do recommend this book so far. It is lovely. The characters are wonderful. I love Wallace. The steady character growth throughout the book is wonderful to see. Hugo is just an absolute sweetheart. And I really, really love the world, the atmosphere, and the characters, and like just the entire vibe that TJ Klune can create, because it's been the same in both books that I've read so far, and it's so wonderful. So that's where I'm at. I will check in a little bit later, or maybe at the end, we'll see, but that's where I'm at. Hi, so I'm back and I'm confused. This wonderful, lovely book that I'm reading, I am this far into it. I'm on chapter 16 and that is 63% into this book. And before I tell you why I'm confused, I'm going to read the back of the book for you really quickly, okay? So just bear with me and pay attention to what the back of the book says. When a reaper comes to collect Wallace from his own funeral, Wallace begins to suspect he might be dead. And when Hugo, the owner of a peculiar tea shop, promises to help him cross over, Wallace decides he's definitely dead. But even in death, he's not ready to abandon the life he barely lived. So when Wallace is given 1 week to cross over, he sets about living a lifetime in 7 days. So, based off of the back of the book, this is the back. If you don't believe me, it's right there, you can see it. So, based off the back of this book, right, you would anticipate that all of this, or maybe let's give it like 3 chapters. So let's say it starts at chapter 4, right, just to be gracious. We'd say about this much of this book would be about the 7 days and him living life, correct? We are chapter 16. I've read that much. I have that much left. 63% into this book, over halfway, and the 7 days haven't started yet. That's why I'm confused a little bit. And I want to make this very clear that so far, I really do enjoy the book. I am loving this book so far. I do not see myself giving this below a 4-star. I don't know what I'm going to give it yet, obviously, but I don't foresee myself giving this below a 4-star. I am confused because, again, you read the back with me. So far, he's only been at the tea shop with Hugo this entire time, and it's been very interesting so far. I don't want to go into details because this is obviously spoiler free and I don't want to give too many, which is why I'm not even like saying what's happening. But so far it's just been him chilling at the tea shop with Hugo and kind of like having some personal growth and stuff, like, and it's wonderful so far. I've been loving it so far. I want to make that very, very clear. This first 63%, I love it very much. It's been very good. I love this book. But this is one of the few books that I read the back for. If you know me, you know usually I go into my books very blind. I don't really know what they're about. The only time I really do know what they're about is if they're recs and someone else explained them for me, which I find tend to be more accurate since it's someone who read the book. So instead of telling you the back, they just give you like a little summary of the first couple of chapters and then where that leads to. Or, you know, if it's a pre-release or it's a book that I've never heard or seen anything of, sometimes I'll read the back just to make sure that it's something that I'm interested in. But I read the back maybe 30% of the time. If I'm gonna have to like guesstimate. This is one of the few times that I read the back because I wanted to know what it was about, because TJ Klune is still kind of like an intimidating author for me. This is only the second book I've read by him, and although both I've loved so far, he is just someone whose books I'm scared to pick up just a little bit, even though I know I'll probably love them. So the fact that we're 63% in and what the back makes you think this book about hasn't happened yet makes me a little bit confused, and I'm not mad about it. I'm not gonna like lower the racing or anything, but I'm a bit disappointed because I feel a bit led astray by the back, because again, like at this point I'm wondering if it's even going to happen. I mean, it has to happen because it's on the back, but like, is it just gonna be like a quick 2-chapter thing? I don't know. When's it gonna happen? Is it gonna start soon? I just feel like the back of the book kind of misrepresented the story so far. And again, I'm 63% of the way through the book. That's a pretty decent chunk. It's not like I'm 20% into it or anything. So it's a bit unfortunate. Again, still love the book. It's still a wonderful story. I'm enjoying every moment with it. And again, the absolute lowest rating I can see myself giving this when I'm finished is a 4-star. I cannot anticipate myself giving it less than that. However, I am bothered by the fact that the back of the book doesn't feel very representative of the book so far. I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. And then about my previous update, I know I was talking about like the death thing. Still very much a thing. Still makes you think a lot. Like, just be mentally prepped to go into it like that, you know? That's where I'm at. I'm hoping to finish it in the next 2-ish days or so, and then I'll come back with a final update and telling you what I thought of it once I'm finished. Unless something major happens, I doubt that I'm gonna pick the camera back up and give an update, since I'm only, I only have that much left. I'll definitely take note of when the 7 days start, like at what percentage point, and like talk about it a little bit more and my thoughts and stuff. But again, this is spoiler free, so that's all I have to say. I'll see you when I finish this wonderful book. Hi, so I officially finished Under the Whispering Door, and wow, is really all I have to say. I'm officially of the belief that TJ Klune can do no wrong, because it was really amazing. I enjoyed every second of it, really, truly, honestly. This is one of those books that breaks your heart and then puts it back together for you, and it's truly such a wonderful story. The one thing I love about TJ Klune or his work, is the fact that the way he writes makes you appreciate being alive, being human, being here with everyone. And it's just like, it's very nice reading a book that leaves you feeling just grateful for everything that you do have, especially if you're going through like a hard time. So I don't know, like his books just make me feel very hopeful, and it's very nice having that feeling. That being said though, as I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure this book did kind of get me a little bit, and it made me feel very vulnerable, because obviously the book is about the main character and his death and his life after death. So it's hard to read because you are constantly thinking about like, or at least I was, other people's reading experiences may be different. For me, it was kind of hard to read because I kept thinking like, oh, what if I were to die? Like, would I be satisfied with the life that I live? Would I have regrets? Are there things I would have done differently? And then obviously there's thinking about all the people that you're leaving behind and wondering like, just in general, what's gonna happen. It's like, it very much got my brain thinking in necessarily not a good way, but that's just kind of like how my brain works. That's not necessarily TJ Klune's fault, but that did make this book a bit harder to read. So although I gave it 5 stars, I'm not sure if I would ever reread this book, purely because of just how it made me feel. And it's like, I don't want to be thinking about death all day, every day, like it's morbid and it makes me sad. So yeah. That being said though, I would definitely recommend this book. It's very beautifully written, and it's interesting because obviously this book tackles life after death, and the way that TJ Klune imagined that for this book was very interesting and intriguing, and that concept in itself was kind of fun to like learn about, even though you really don't learn that much, because it's kind of just like, yeah, this is what happens in this world. This is what happens when you die. It's interesting, it's fun, I do recommend it. It's a wonderful book. TJ Klune's writing in general is very wonderful, very wholesome, very heartfelt. It just, like, it hits you in the chest. So, very much love it, would definitely recommend. The only thing is, if you choose to read this book after having watched this video, the one thing I have to say is, do not read the back of the book. I found that the back of the book kind of misrepresented the story a little bit, because the back of the book talks about the fact that he's given a week to cross over, and that was a very, very small chunk of the story. I'm not exaggerating when I say it spans maybe like 50 pages quite later on in the book. So I would ignore the back of the book, and the blurb that I'm going to give you is what I want you to base this book off of. And that blurb is, Wallace Price passed away from a heart attack, and in death he learned to live. That is what this book is about. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely pick it up. If that doesn't sound interesting to you, still consider picking it up, because TJ Klune's writing is very wonderful. As far as I'm aware, most if not all of his books are queer, and he writes the characters very realistically. Every character is a very full-fleshed person, and it just feels wonderful, and his books feel like a warm hug. So even if his books don't sound that interesting to you, I definitely recommend picking them up, because I didn't think his book sounded interesting for the longest time until I got House in the Cerulean Sea. Definitely consider picking this up. It doesn't matter if it's through audio or physical. I obviously recommend physical so that you can really get absorbed into the story, but just pick it up if you can. And if you think that it is something that you can mentally handle reading, because maybe you're too vulnerable to read about death, and that's perfectly okay. But yes, if you've read this book, let me know if you agree with me on the fact that the back of the book just didn't summarize the story well, because I was very confused reading the book and comparing it to the back. So definitely let me know if you agree with me on that point. If you like me or my videos, I would really appreciate a like, a comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.